Senator Cory Booker was trying to force a much bigger conversation about the power of government, constitutional rights, and what happens when immigration enforcement begins affecting not just undocumented immigrants, but American citizens themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Noem, you're in charge of your agency. The buck stops with you, correct?
I'm in charge of my agency, what?
The buck stops with you,
Yes, correct.
And you had to swear an oath to the Constitution before you took this job, right?
Correct.
So one of the most sacrosanct ideals of our nation, enshrined in our Constitution, is freedom, is liberty. Mm-hmm. It is an idea that the government has a very high standard should they take away liberty and freedom from an American citizen. How many U.S. citizens has DHS detained as of last October?
Senator, if you're talking about detained and arrested, is that those that have been violating and obstructing our law enforcement operations? Is that what you're referencing? Because it could be hundreds and hundreds. We have faced violent riots across the country,
you are
specifically in Portland and in Minneapolis.
The only people you've detained are committing crimes, but you and I both know that's not true.
No, I haven't said that. I didn't
so
say
then
that.
how many people have you detained?
I can't give you an accurate number because we've literally detained and arrested many for those obstruction of law enforcement operations, and
so
also
public
others
records,
that had probable
let me tell
cause,
you what my staff researched.
and then released.
May I continue? Public records are showing that over 170 incidents of your agency unlawfully taking away the liberties and freedoms of American citizens. This includes 20 children, 20 American kids that your agency detained. How long can your agency detain an American citizen?
We don't detain children and separate them from their parents. Those parents have chosen
You're telling me
to
under
keep their
oath
child
right now.
with
Hold on.
them.
I just want to be clear. You're telling me under oath right now that your agency has not detained American children.
Those parents have chosen to keep their children with them. like the Biden administration did.
Let me continue.
We keep them together, and parents have the option on if they want their child with them or not with them.
How long do detentions last when you detain an American citizen? How long do they last?
We don't detain American citizens, and if there's probable cause.
Let me give you, because you are not speaking truthfully under oath. Isaiah Pena Salcedo, a U.S. citizen living in California, was detained more than 70 hours, almost 3 days, even after he showed ICE agents his passport. My colleague, Senator Blumenthal, gave you example after example. He brought people here who had something else we Americans consider sacrosanct, our home, our property. Your masked agents jumping out of unmarked cars have broken into, considerable property damage occurring, into American citizens' homes. Case after case of this, and you sit here before me and claim the buck stops with you, but you don't even know the names of these individuals. I ran New Jersey's largest municipal police department. When my officers engaged in misconduct, you can be damn well sure I knew about it and I investigated it. And yet you have situations where your officers are violating the sanctity of people's homes, arresting and detaining them and holding their children. And you're acting as if you don't know about it and saying that under oath. Miramar Martinez, who is here right now, on her way to church, an American citizen going to church, not just to worship, but to donate clothing. Your officers shot her multiple times. The case was thrown out of court, and you represent here that you don't know about it. In New Jersey, are you aware of your officers' activities in places like schools? Are you aware of your officers' activities at our public schools?
Sir, we don't go into schools and do targeted law enforcement operations. We do targeted law enforcement operations like other agencies
So you're
and law
telling me that
enforcement
ICE officers entered the grounds of a high school in Minneapolis? That's a fact. Elementary school children in New Jersey are terrified of your agents. When they came upon a school bus stop, they fled. Another school, a higher education, Columbia University, your agents reportedly lied to students, told them they were searching for a missing person to gain access to private spaces, to non-public areas of campus. Secretary Noem, these are kids. They're terrified in our communities. How do you think that affects them when children in my state go running, fleeing, and often you all pursue children, throwing them to the ground, getting on their backs, putting them in handcuffs? I want to talk to you about this incredible empire of for-profit companies that are profiting at rates we've never seen, and the way you're using money. Let's drill down on the warehouses that DHS has been buying over the last several months, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. Are you familiar with the acquisition of a warehouse DHS recently bought in Roxbury Township, New Jersey?
Yes.
You are familiar with that?
Mm-hmm. I'm
Do you
familiar
know
that
how much you spent for it?
No, sir, I do not.
$129.3 million. Do you know how much it was assessed for in New Jersey?
Sir, we're purchasing centers across the country to build efficiency into our detention system.
Efficiency to
so that
me,
we
as
can...
a person who's run tight budgets before and had taxpayer dollars, you paid $129.3 million for a facility in my state that was assessed at less than half of that, at $62 million. To work for a president that says he's a great deal maker, I can't believe he thinks that you're a great deal maker. But what's worse than that is that the Roxbury Township Council, comprised entirely of Republicans, voted unanimously early this year to oppose that facility. My office tried to facilitate a meeting between DHS and local officials so that ICE could hear their concerns, yet DHS did not even respond. That is unacceptable, that you all would enter a town. You wouldn't even follow environmental reviews or have conversations with local officials about the resources, from emergency resources to fire resources and more, that you're going to pull down. You didn't even have a conversation. Secretary Noem, do you comply with court orders?
Yes, we do comply.
Your agency complies with court orders.
Yes, we comply with federal court orders.
You were saying under oath that you do, and yet we know in January the chief judge, Republican appointed for the Federal District of Minnesota, found that ICE had violated nearly 100 court orders since January 1st alone. In my state of New Jersey, last month, the chief of staff to Deputy Attorney General admitted in my state that in the New Jersey District Court that the government had violated 52 separate court orders, all involving cases where immigrants successfully challenged the legality of their detention. So this, again, is a constitution that you swore an oath to, and one of the most important ideals is that no one is above the law. You are violating the separation of powers, violating court orders, and routinely violating the civil rights of Americans. This is a reckless and out-of-control agency that you are responsible for. You seem to have no situational awareness whatsoever of some of the most egregious examples of Americans being completely attacked, violated, undermined in accordance with our laws by their own government. And this is what is phenomenal to me, is immigration was your president's #1 issue, overwhelmingly popular with the American people. But now it's overwhelmingly unpopular. And it's not because you are deporting dangerous people that everybody here wants out of our country. No, it's because you're going into our schools. You're terrorizing our children. You're detaining children. You're arresting Americans. You're breaking into our homes. You're terrorizing our streets. You're violating our rights to peacefully protest again and again and again.
None of
and then
that
when
is
a court tells you
None
to
of
stop,
that is true.
and then when a court
You are
tells you
trying
to stop,
to impede
you
us
violate
from enforcing
judges'
the law
orders. Not in
and
a
getting
partisan
dangerous
way,
criminals off of our streets, so we don't have more families like the ones that are sitting behind
there
me.
and tell me that
Lost
you are
their children, are
responsible
gone forever.
for the running of your agency when you're not even aware. Either you are utterly incompetent or you are violating laws with impunity. You should step down from your position. If you don't, you should be removed by this president. And if not, Congress should impeach you.
From the very beginning, Booker framed the hearing around one central principle. In the United States, liberty is supposed to be sacred. The Constitution intentionally puts limits on government power because the founders understood something deeply important. Once the state gains the ability to detain people freely, enter homes aggressively, or ignore court oversight, every citizen becomes vulnerable. That's why due process exists. That's why warrants matter. That's why courts exist. And Booker's argument throughout this hearing was essentially that DHS Undersecretary Kristi Noem is drifting dangerously close to crossing those constitutional guardrails.